Pythagoras is quoted as saying, "The highest goal of music is to connect one's soul to their divine nature, not entertainment." So I'm going to ask you guys, what does that mean? The highest goal of music is to connect one's soul to their divine nature. Well, let's look at what divine means. One meaning is, just looking it up here, having the nature of or being a deity. Two, of relating to, emanating from, or being the expression of a deity. Or last, three, being in the service or worship of a deity, sacred. Now, I tend to believe from looking at this quote that meaning was the last one. The reason why, when Pythagoras was around, everybody knows they had many gods that they worshiped. They were not monotheistic whatsoever. But they did not consider they themselves gods. They considered themselves humans, mortals. Now, let me break this into like a little bit more of a modern perspective. So, to a Christian who's still working on her faith, like me, divine nature is something that God has called you to be. Something inside you that basically, because we all believe, Christians believe that God is within us. Not that we are God, but God is within us. And divine nature is that highest calling of where God tells you need to be. So let's look at that again. The highest goal of music is to connect one's soul to their divine nature, not entertainment. I know you guys have seen commercials for CMA, CMT, whoever it is, all this mainstream crap, crap. And they all look the same. All the male artists look the same with maybe a few. All the females look the same except for maybe a few. They all sound the same. They all look the same. They all whatever, the same. And you look at it and you can see it for what it is. They're just trying to entertain us. So if they are trying to entertain us instead of us finding our calling, why is that? All right, so here is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 20. Let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. So that tells me, who's in a spiritual walk, that every man should be allowed to follow the calling that he or she was called to by God. And that also tells me that nobody has a right to take that away from any of us. All right, you guys, so here comes my testimony. And I have not been wanting to talk about this at all. I don't care what other people think of me, but there for a while, I was scared that, I was losing it. So basically, my whole life, I've pretty much been a Christian. I did get off the path a few times. Back when I was in high school, I acted like a typical high schooler. I wasn't a horrible person, but I didn't always make the right decisions, and I didn't care who I hurt. But as I got older, especially after I had my kids, I changed and got back on that path. But I can honestly say that there have been times in the last, 10 years where I've gotten back off my path. And here comes most recent testimony. I was basically spiritually attacked. And this is why I was kind of reluctant to share it, because a lot of people don't believe in that, and that's fine. I don't expect anybody to believe me or believe in it. But those people who who know it exists understand that, or maybe have had that happen to them, they understand. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen Stoner Man, his reel that he did recently. It was probably within the last week, and he mentioned, because we all know, especially with Creek Squad, know that these other artists are resulting to witchcraft, and they're using it in a bad way. Okay. But they have resulted to witchcraft and alchemy and things of that nature. And he made a post, and one of the people he called out specifically as well, because of some recent things he was calling, Creek Squad. But basically, he calls out, hey, if you want to try your witchcraft on me, I've already been through Little Miss Marie Laveau, Voodoo Queen. And he's right. She tried to attack him too. And with me, it got so bad, it affected me physically. I didn't have a lot of energy in it. That's not saying that everybody that doesn't have energy, this is what it is. But let me just say, I knew for sure, because of repetitive dreams I was having. I had all the signs anyway. But it got so bad that Stoner Man and members of my family were telling me, you get worse, you call me, I will take you to the hospital. It got that bad. And I will tell you, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I had been off my path for a little while. I hadn't read my Bible in like 6 months to a year. And when this started happening, instead of going to the Bible, I went to other places trying to look for how to fight this off, how to get rid of it. And then I finally came across a video one day, and it was talking about this, and it was from the Christian perspective. And I'm like, well, why didn't I think of that? Right? I watch it, and then it clicked. It was like a light bulb. I realized nobody can do anything to me unless I let it. And at that point of my spiritual walk, I was letting it happen without realizing it. And the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because I believe it happens a lot more than people think. In the Older Testament, whenever Elijah, this young man came in and was telling, oh my gosh, all these soldiers are coming, and he's just like, stay calm, and he prays for this young man that's freaking out, saying, let his eyes be open. Well, he doesn't mean his actual eyes, he means his spiritual eyes. And any of us that have spiritual eyes, we can see everything for what it is. And whether you believe in this stuff or not, I just hope that you guys have those spiritual eyes to make sure nothing hinders you from your calling. Okay, so here's the second part of this testimony. After I had that realization that, hey, God's got me, I don't need to worry about this. I could tell she was still trying to attack, but it wasn't near as bad. I could tell she was trying everything she could, and it still was not really doing much, because I had that faith again. I had that faith. Well, about a week or two later, we're watching Upchurch in one of his videos, and he's mentioning, how these other people have messed up from the snake pit, because there are going to be so many people that are coming out and basically, doing their own thing and, just kind of reaching higher levels and everything else because of this. And that sparked something within me and Stoner Man. And Stoner Man will do his own video on this, I'm sure. But for both of us, it was, we need to do something. So what did we do? We hadn't been on social media for years. Both of us created a new social media account. I created one, a brand new one, because a lot of my old one had my kids when they were kids on there, and I didn't, I know how being in the public eye can be. Nobody needs to know my stuff, like my family and everything like that. They don't need to know that. So we did all this, and we're starting to do it. And, whenever I first started this, I was like, well, I'll just do history and I'll do all this stuff that, I've been wanting to do. But here's the thing. You think you have plans and you start going according that path, but while you're busy, God's making his own plans. And I have not once had a craving or anything, or even any passion like I used to do anything for history. And to me, that tells me that I'm in the right place right now. I have all these ideas for videos, but I don't do them very often. And the reason why I don't is because I want to make sure I have that passion, that calling from God to do it. And funny thing about this video, I did research on 2 different videos, and I was starting to pull them together, and I just started to do voice memos. And this is the 3rd video that I've been working on. And when I started doing this voice memos, I'm like, this is something completely different than I've been working on the 2 projects prior. So that tells me that this needs to be put out. All right, you guys. So I know for Creek Squad and a lot of people that I know personally, they are working on big things for 2025. And to tie this all in together, that divine nature, that calling, don't ignore it. Go for it. Every one of you should go for it. Keep working, keep grinding, keep your head down. And the reason why I brought up the whole Marie Laveau thing, you will have some obstacles, whether they're physical, whether they're mental, whether they're technology, whether, it could be even somebody attacking you spiritually. But don't let that stand in your way. You keep going, you keep grinding, you keep working. And I know 2025 is going to be a great year for a lot of people out there. And I know it sure as hell is going to be for Creek Squad. I know of so many people that are working on so many things right now, and it makes me so happy to see them working for their dream, working for something they believe in. And you see, to tie all this in together, again, when I listen to Upchurch's songs, and some other artists as well, I feel inspired. I don't feel just entertained. I feel inspired. It's bringing me to my calling, to my divine nature. And I know it is for a lot of you other guys out there too. I hope you guys have a great 2025. Happy New Year.